So welcome everybody. This is What's Up for Your Children. And so let's start in the heart. Okay, so just set this energy a bit. And if you'll go ahead and breathe directly into your heart space, as if it's the only place that you can breathe into. And as you exhale out 360 degrees. And when you breathe in this time, I want you to just notice when you're breathing into the heart space, is the heart space concave? Is it dipped in towards the internal part of the chest, or is it almost like more like a sphere, like you're moving into it through a sphere? So just pay attention to it on this one. So inhaling into the heart space and exhaling out 360 degrees. There we go. All right, and so this time I'd like you to see that heart space that you're inhaling into as a sphere itself. So when you're moving that energy in, you're moving it in through a sphere. And then you're going to hold it there for a moment and then exhale it back out 360 degrees. So let's go ahead and breathe in through that sphere of the heart. Holding that energy in the heart for a second and then exhaling it out 360 degrees around you. There we go. Okay, so one other thing that I'm just noticing, let's, one second, get it. This time I'd like you to breathe into that sphere of your heart. And as you exhale it down through those lower chakras down toward the earth. You're not necessarily asking it to go into the earth, but you're just directing that energy to be in relationship to it. Yep, so inhaling it into the heart space and exhaling it down through those lower chakras to be in relationship to that earth space. Maybe just one more time, inhaling in through that heart sphere, exhaling it down toward that earth sphere. Here we go. All right, good. Okay, all right. When you're ready, we can just bring our eyes back open. So, Miss Sharon, do you have some questions for me?
Well, we do. So, first question is, my 4-year-old daughter gets quite overwhelmed and even becomes traumatized when anyone laughs or even chuckles around her or within earshot. It's even more acutely felt when it's perceived to be directed at her or about her. Can you shed some light on what's going on with this and how I can help her?
Well, a couple different things here. There's a couple different layers of this, actually. There's an old trauma that's running through not her human experience, not her first 4 years of life experience, but through the lineage. There's some energy running through the lineage that she has a hold of, and she's very, well, we've already said it, she's very sensitive to that energy, but again, it's not necessarily because it's her, at least this part, her experience. It's come down through the lineage. So let's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, she's holding on a pattern that has been in the lineage for quite some time. I think if you went back and asked, especially in the matriarchal kind of line, both masculine side and feminine side, but in that matriarchal part, it's almost like each one of them, like 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 generations back, it's like everybody has had something that triggered an insecurity or they were met with some level of insensitivity that stuck, and it became part of the lineage pattern. And so she's got that little piece there. So we'll pick that up and kick that out for her, because that it doesn't even belong to her. She's sensitive to something that she doesn't even know why she's sensitive to it. So we're just going to return that to the lineage line. And then the other side of it is, so it was in her, literally in her genetic makeup to be sensitive to that. And because she has been sensitive to it, she is hyper alert to when anybody is trying to direct that energy towards her. You know, and it's specifically around feeling, yeah, it's like being made to feel less than. And it's come down through being laughed at, right, in the lineage. But so she was super sensitive to that. So she's looking for it. She's looking for where that kind of energy is. And then when she hears it, she directly, you know, she turns that around and assumes that it's hers. So get that out of the lineage. I'm just looking at one other thing that I'll tell you, the thing that this is a very physical support, but I'm going to say it anyway, like phosphorus, the homeopathic remedy phosphorus, maybe like, you don't have to give it to her very often at all because she's super sensitive. And I'm not a homeopath, so if you have one, you might want to reach out to one. But what she's telling me, I'll just tell you what she's telling me, is like a 30C of phosphorus helps, just because we can clear out the lineage part of it. We're just kind of creating a bit of a buffer zone around her so that she's, the best way I can say is like it cuts her sensitivity to that particular issue. And phosphorus is really good for kind of solidifying an energy field, filling up the holes where that energy leaks into other people's experiences. So that's what she's telling me to share with you. So I hope that's helpful. Yeah, it's like we need something to break the lineage experience, and we can do that energetically, but she also feels like she needs something physical to support that. Yeah, it's not hers. It wasn't hers anyway.
Okay, next question. My daughter hasn't seen her father in 16 months, and we are currently in the middle of a custody battle. Although I try to shelter her from what is going on, I do have concerns that she is negatively affected by things that I am unaware of because she can't verbally express her feelings or thoughts. Is there something that I can do more to protect her or help her through this difficult period in our lives?
Well, what she's sharing with me is, again, you know, children in general, but energetically sensitive children just that much more. She, as you say, she's picking up everything anyway. So instead of trying to shelter her in any way from that experience, go ahead and give yourself and give her permission to know what she knows. Give yourself permission to say, you know, to just, you don't have to go into the specific details and all that other, but when there is the energy of sadness, say it. You know, I'm sad with everything that's going on. Or there's the energy of, you know, irritation or frustration. I mean, speak to her and tell her what you're feeling, because a lot of the a lot of the confusion or a lot of the trauma that, you know, could be from any experience like this is because the kids are feeling everything, and nobody's talking about it. Nobody's saying what it is. Nobody's addressing the kind of like the elephant in the room. And so if you just address it, then she can kind of release her hold on that kind of energy. And as she releases her hold on that energy, she's not storing it to process it later. Yeah. So we're just gonna say, this, I wish it could be different, but it's not. And I would just be very, when you're feeling however you're feeling, you get off the phone and you've just had, a message from the attorney, or you've had, something, and there's something going on for you. I would just turn right to her and say, wow, I'm really feeling that. I really feel this way about that. And just leave it. Um, yeah. Yeah. It should, that way it just doesn't stick.
Okay. This one is, my 10-month-old son has been struggling with eczema for the past few months. Eliminating eczema triggering foods from my diet has helped because I am breastfeeding,
Mhm.
but hasn't completely alleviated the symptoms. He has also had a difficult time with sleeping since he was born. He wakes up frequently at night and seems to have difficulty transitioning between asleep and awake states. Is there anything I can do to help him?
Um, well, it's interesting because I'm glad you said the thing about, changing diet, and that's, making some headways, but because it's interesting, it literally is, um, it, it's like, to me, it looks like a detoxification from the inside out. But he's not just detoxifying like it's like, so there's all kinds of different levels of information that can move through and be detoxified. And again, through the skin, the biggest organ in the body, that it's going to try to come out that way. But so you've already addressed in many ways some of the physical toxins that might be coming through the body and trying to be, excreted through his skin. And I'll just say that the places to look now are the emotional toxins, right? So again, these kids, I tell you, every single generation, you've got a 10-month-old. It's like, oh, so it's like that energy is just wide open in so many ways, right? And each generation that's coming in is trying to clear and more from the generations previous, so that we can set ourselves on a new collective course, right? So they're not intentionally saying, I'm going to do that, right? That's a soul or an essence perspective. But nevertheless, if their bodies are capable of moving that energy through, they're going to do just that. So great to address the physical, allergens and things like that that might be creating that. But I would just ask yourself this question: if there's one predominant emotional energy that shows up for you, especially just having had a baby, and all of the energy that's moving through you, it feels to me like something also has gotten kicked up at an emotional body level. So whatever that energy is, let's acknowledge it. Let's not pretend that it's not there. Every new parent has all kinds of stressors, and in the midst of everything going on, even more so. So whatever that stressor is, whatever that primary emotion is that kind of tries to bubble up, and maybe you don't want it to be there, so you kind of push it back down. Let's let it bubble up, and let's let it move itself out. Let's just acknowledge that it's there. There's no blame, there's no shame. It's just a natural byproduct of everything, and purging some of that energy is going to help with the skin too. Yeah, he is picking up the subtle stuff. So
All right, this question. My son's OCD is off the charts. Today is the 15th, a day when he only eats things he doesn't like. All stuff from his non-15 days are locked up in his room. Aside from today's being the 15th, his OCD has been still very high. He spends so much time doing his OCD doings. He says he's experiencing so much anxiety, and it's exhausting and difficult.
mhm.
And he says that he is suffering he's really suffering in all kinds of various ways. And the mom has been trying different strategies previously from ones that she's asked, in addition to ones that have come to her intuitively. Just wondering if you have any other suggestions to help her.
Let me see. So I just want to share something that I have seen in the last week or so. And especially even just earlier today, I had a client that has a son who's got his OCD has gone up extremely during this time as well. And so one of the things that I noticed in him, and I'm just noticing it, so it's just a different layer of energetic support. But what I was noticing is that with a lot of individuals who have OCD, when I look at their heart energy, that heart energy is more concave. And it's the exact reason that I did the opening the way I did today, where we created a sphere. So let's say that the heart energy is designed to be a sphere. It's designed to be that way. But over time of receiving so much information and having access to so much information, feeling bombarded by that information, that sphere goes from a sphere and it starts to cave in. It starts to cave in on itself. So what ends up happening is all of this energy is moving into the heart. It's probably moving in other chakras as well, and other vortexes in the body. But that energy is moving in. And the more it moves in, the more it gets stored, the more anxiety there is, the more I got to figure out how to deal with this energy. I've got to, micromanage all of this energy because I want it to stop, right? So it's kind of like a vicious cycle where that energy, that heart energy, just gets plummeted, and all of a sudden now you've got this big concave energy. So what we did is we flipped it to we opened up that whole heart space, opened it back to its original sphere. And so again, think about the difference between a sphere in the heart and something coming at it, right? Something coming at that sphere, it's gonna hit and it's gonna move around that energy that's coming out. It's like it's instead of concave, it's protruding out. And so that energy, think about everything as energy, all information is energy, and it's coming into the field. And we want it to come in and hit that sphere so it dissipates over, instead of coming into that heart space and creating this pool of energy, right? That then he has to do something about. So, so that, I just want to see one other thing. We think about if we have so much, and the other thing I'm going to say is, I'm going to suggest something. I don't know what the exact remedy is, but I'm going to suggest homeopathy or a flower essence or anything that specifically is designed to cut sensitivity and cut anxiety. Because what happens is we get this cycle of super, super sensitive. I get anxious from that sensitivity. I've got too much information coming in. And then that's what's creating this, keeping this energy in the heart space concave. So I would talk to a homeopath about that. And then I'd also energetically start really literally pumping up that heart energy, like really seeing it as a sphere. There's something that, hold on a second, there's something else that kind of hooks in. It's like a vicious cycle, because it's his anxiety, his information, it all gets stored, and then everybody else who's watching him in that same kind of space, they move into their own anxieties, their own stressors. So it kind of becomes a family dynamic. And it's not that it's necessarily an overt family dynamic, it's just the energetics of it is still there. So we do need something to break the yeah, we need something to break that that energy, the anxiety, and shutting down the field a little bit. Something, I mean, phosphorus is great for that, but I would, in this case, I just feel like you need to speak to the homeopath, because I think that there's some other little piece there that I think needs to be addressed. And then also just pumping up that whole heart space, seeing it as a sphere on his behalf, seeing yours as a sphere. Anybody that interacts with him, yeah, you want that heart energy to be spherical. Yeah. Okay. I hope that's helpful.
This question is, 16-year-old son wants to learn at school. In general, we have a big academic gap. If I know what he wants, I could focus on those goals at school meetings. So kind of an idea what her son could use academically.
What he could use academically?
Or learn, I guess because he has a big academic gap between age and ability.
Right. And the desire is here's a different question, but this is just the way I'm reading it. Is his desire to go to school academic, or is his desire to go to school something else?
Let's see, the mom answered.
Yeah.
Yes, academic.
Okay. Well, I'll just tell you what I'm hearing. And then what I'm hearing is, I don't think that that's the request to go to school. I know I think the request to go to school is not completely based on academics. I think that his desire to go to school is to learn how other kids do things, to learn how other kids address academics, to learn how his and I'm not saying that he won't grow. Well, he will grow. That's why he's asking to go. He will grow academically from that. It's almost like, again, let's move this into just energy. It's energetic information, right? So you all, at home, you are not in that setting of learning academically, right? You're past that stage in your development and in your growth and that kind of stuff. It's almost like he's asking to be put into an environment where people are learning academically so that he can learn how to learn academically, like so that he can learn how to, it's almost like he's, and again, not conscious of this, he's seeking a model for how to learn academically, is what he's telling me. And so in many ways, as far as the goals or those kinds of things, to me, that would be the best goal. He's learning how to learn academically. Yeah, that would be the best goal. Obviously, it might be a little tricky to get somebody to put that on an IEP or something like that. But that really is the focus. And so and then basically it's just in any given subject, it's that he's moving from where he is to where he wants to be. But the real request is, I need a model to know how to do that. I need somebody to watch that's learning in that way so that I know how to do it as well. Yeah, hope that's helpful.
Okay, this question is, my daughter tends to always ask where everything is. Where is that person? Where is their mummy? Where is that object? Even if I give the answer or presume give for the answer, as she doesn't sit well with an "I don't know" for a response. She still can keep asking the same question. Can you shed some light on what she is trying to achieve by constantly asking repetitive style questions?
Um, well, so this actually has an energy of there's an energy of anxiety in this around abandonment, right? And I'm not sure that that's all hers. However, when I'm looking at her, I don't see that anybody's abandoning her. You know, it's like people are there for her, is what it looks like to me. So it might just be an energy of, you know, somebody else in the household that holds that energy, or has a fear around that energy, or has felt isolated themselves, you know, maybe felt like they are separate from the rest of the, you know, the rest of the family or that kind of thing. And so she's kind of picking it up from that vantage point. So two things that I would say here is, again, you know, when she says that, I would just say back to her, it's like, wow, you know, if you feel like it's yours, the person asking this question, I would say back to her, wow, you know, sometimes I feel like you know, I'm by myself. Or sometimes I would just say to her, so that she's not, you know, she's not looking, where is everybody? Where is everybody? Sometimes too, the other energy could be that if you also are hypersensitive to where people are in the household and whether they're infringing in your energy field or in your, yeah, it's like sometimes she can be picking up that too. So one, I'd have, when she says something like that, I would just say to her, it's like, I wonder if you're, whether you think she understands it or not, I would just say, I wonder if you're picking up some of my stress about where people are or are not, or where I am or am not in relationship to everybody else. You know, I wonder if that's I wonder if that's what's going on. And then the other thing she's telling me to say to you is that when she says, you know, where is this one? Where is that one? Where is that one? But I would just turn it around and go, I don't know, honey, where are they? You tell me, where are they? You know, it's like, it's almost like, yeah, so that it's not because she knows, I mean, she's already energetically tuned into everybody in the household. She knows exactly where everybody is. I think she's saying that to bring attention to the fact that, you know, it might feel more comfortable for you if you knew where everybody was or how people were infringing on, yeah, in your field. So that's what I would say to her. I don't know, honey, where are they? You tell me. Yeah, you're good at that. Tell me where they are. So tell me tell me what's going on. Yeah. So
All right. This question is her son could have different things to bring out to help their family integrate, but because he's not fitting the mold, she wants to know how to stop worrying about his future and how to make his living, etc., after they're not there.
yeah, it's such a big one. Um, you know, it, again, just from a strictly energetic point of view, we get more of what we add our attention to, right? We naturally and organically start to create that, whether we're consciously aware that we're doing it or not. And so again, let's pay attention to, in this moment, let's pay attention to everything that is going right. You know, let's really hone in and feed that energy. Let's also really pay attention to some of the skills that he has because he's a little different. You know, what is he good at that maybe everybody else in the household isn't good at? I mean, the very fact that yeah, I mean, we know he's more sensitive. We know he's more intuitive. We know that he's, um, he picks up things. So we really want to start feeding that kind of energy, because one of the things that the kids said a long time ago, and I'm really beginning to understand it now, because I think generationally I'm feeling it now, like where I wasn't, in the past. But the kids have always said that a lot of the jobs, a lot of the ways in which they will be supported, in the future or into the future, are not here yet. They're not here now. They're being, again, let's remember that 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 they are attracting for themselves, whether they're consciously, doing a little vision board or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. Energetically, they're drawing to them, the things that match for them, right? We couldn't. A lot of these kids, you kind of go, okay, I couldn't have even conceived that later in life they were going to be this. Yeah, that they were going to be interested in that. And so, and both, even in for the kids who are more, I would say, uh, I'm going to say more involved, you know, physical challenges, mental challenges, emotional challenges. Even for that population, again, we have no idea what's coming down the pike as far as what can shift and transmute these things. So, what we want to be paying attention to is that pathway. What continually puts us on that pathway, right? So, to me, that's all the things that are working now, plus all the ways in which you are valuing, that uniqueness. You're adding energy to that so that yeah, it's supported. Yeah. Yeah. Plus, the fact is, like, I mean, we're so conditioned like this as human beings. We're so conditioned to spend so much time with what's wrong, and how, it's like, our fears and things like that. Even just a few moments a day of daydreaming, few moments of dreaming, you know, who know? I mean, make it wild, make it crazy, make it, just over the top. It's like, what if I mean, because again, we're never feeding energy into those what ifs. We're always feeding energy into, this is the way it looks in this moment. This is the fear I have in this moment. So where are we just going to channel this, big battery of energy that we all are? Yeah. So let's filter it into, yeah. I mean, I've dreamt forever. It's like, I mean, really, what if, the the not the beauty, not the awesomeism of these kiddos, right? But what if, the challenges that make it very difficult for that awesomeism to be just seen, expressed, recognized, realized by everybody? What if that could just, you know, and the mind goes, no, it's like, you don't know who I'm living with. That's so hard, or that's so challenging. But again, if we never even consider it, we never add energy to it. Man, look at some of the technologies that are coming down the pike now, med beds and all kinds of, things that we would have never even thought were possible. I just, we have that in each generation. So yeah, I would add energy to that. Yeah, yeah. Cool. Anything else, Sharon?
Yes, this mom is asking about her child has autism, epilepsy, a genesis of the corpus callosum, and she is 8 years old and is still not potty trained. She doesn't understand the concept of going to the toilet before she potties. Is there anything I can do to help her understand, or what am I missing that I need to help her with?
She let's see here. She's showing me several things at the same time. So what she's showing me is that the majority of her her work right now, it's internal, right? So it's like there's all kinds of energy working in her, through her, around her, supporting her. She's got teams. She's got teams of energy working with her. And and I'm just going to say what she's saying, and that's probably not what you want to hear, but I just have to give you what I've got. Part of when we draw the focus for her, at least right now, away from her, that internal process, and making it about what she's considering an external process, right? That external, she's just saying that she needs more time. There are some internal processes that are not linked up yet, that aren't quite connected yet, for her to be able to it's not an understanding so much as orchestrate within her body those different steps, right? So in some ways, I know I can imagine, at 8, we want our children potty trained and that kind of thing. And at the same time, it's like she's just saying that there are just other things syncing up, and she's just asking me to say to you to give her a little bit of to give her a break around it, and not to feel like she's never going to get there because you give her a break. That's not it. She's just asking us to give energy to those processes that are helping her get to the place that she can follow those steps, right? Some of them are neurological, some of them are, more, just organs of elimination and those kinds of things. There's all kinds of things working out for her. So one, I would step back for a bit, but don't step back and do nothing. Let's step back and let's add energy to all of the places within her that are trying to line up. You're kind of gifting her with some energetic support to help line those places up within her. Yep. And that's honestly, it's probably, it might be like a 6-month backup. Yeah. And then try again. Right. And then go for it again. You just, let her line these places up. And I really want you to pay attention to the fact that you are assisting her in helping to line this up, that it's a different type of support, right? It's a different type of support. And there's a few more of these to come for you. And I think that's why she's saying it this way, where you're going to be energetically supporting her in other skills moving forward, other very practical skills moving forward. So, cool. I hope that's helpful.
All right. This question is, I had planned for a peaceful home birth for my son, but I ended up being in labor for almost 60 hours and giving birth to him in the hospital, and he had to stay for 4 days afterwards. I'm just wondering wondering if he sustained any birth trauma and need to be cleared.
Well, I don't know anybody who really makes it into this world without some birth trauma, right? So I think that's, everybody has some degree of birth trauma. I want to say that first. And then I'm going to answer your question, but I want to go back to, because I'm hearing it so loud, this forgiveness piece. So many times we have desires for the way we want to bring a child into this world, and with the best of intentions, we're planning for that and that kind of thing. And of course, there's other forces at work that are much bigger than our plans, that kind of can reorganize things, for a variety of reasons in a heartbeat. But there's a piece in there for you around really giving your, really, there's a forgiveness piece or cutting yourself some slack around it not going the way you planned. Yeah, because I think the other thing that's happening is based on things didn't go the way you planned, then it's like, because it didn't go the way I planned, now I'm looking for what might have gone wrong because it went, in your mind, it went wrong in the first place, right? So is there birth trauma is the next question, and I'm not trying to be flip when I say everybody comes in with some degree of birth trauma, but to me, the bigger piece that I feel like is really starts to relax him, relax you, is this piece around forgiveness and this piece of, because it goes back to something else, is what it looks like to me. It looks like it goes back to something else, and it's all around things going as planned. Yeah, it's like things don't go as planned. They, I mean, at least not by our mental minds, right? But there feels like there's something there, right there, that can really relaxes your field, relaxes your child's field, everything just kind of, and so if there is some sense of trauma, that trauma is much easier released because the whole field is relaxed. And for whatever reason, it feels more important to talk to you about that than, yeah. You'll get more for your energetic buck that way, so to speak.
Okay, this question is, my 19-year-old daughter goes to sleep very late, wakes up very late, and spends most of the day in bed on her phone or watching streamed videos. On the one hand, I feel like she's decompressing at home, but at the same time, her lifestyle feels toxic. I'm supporting her in terms of making healthy meals and overall care and space. Any thoughts that I can assist her?
Well, given her age, and that she is 19 and she is going to be making her own decisions. I mean, really, a lot of it does have to do with, hold on a second, I just want to see one other thing. It is her way of decompressing, but it's also her way of cloistering herself when she gets into a bit of overwhelm, just with everything. It's like when things are too much, it's her way of kind of bubbling up. And each one of us has a way of doing that. I have a tendency to watch Friends. So when I need to decompress, right? So she has her way of doing that too. And so again, really all I'm seeing that you can do here is you can model for her what you input when you need to decompress, right? You can model that for her so that she sees, when you decompress, this is what you do. You can suggest to her that, what goes in that experience, when she's trying to cloister herself a little bit, bubble herself up a little bit, what's happening is there's just a regeneration of energy that's going on. And so whatever she's feeding into that field is what she's ultimately going to be projecting out into the field. And what's interesting is that there's a desire on her part as well to break the pattern, right? Because she knows, what she's showing me is she knows that it gets overwhelming. She goes in, she feeds herself certain things, physically, mentally, emotionally, and then, and not all of those things are, all that uplifting or supportive. And then she goes back out into the world and she gets the same stuff again, and then it happens all over again, right? And so I think even just putting that question mark in her mind, or that awareness, um, that we're always creating like these projectors from the inside out, and that we can actually feed into our systems what we want to get back from the outside. Yeah. And so I think even just putting that, and then you're going to have to just back up and leave it, because at that point you've given her the information, and then she has to choose what she wants to do with it. But it does look like she is in a mode right now of wanting a way out, wanting a way. She's feeling it. And it's pulling her in, pulling her in, pulling her in, which is great, because the more we pull in, it's that we get to the place where there's no place else to pull in anymore. So we kind of have to cut the loop. So, and she feels like she's kind of there. So, yeah. All right.
All right. This question. When I try to share with my daughter that I am feeling a bit sad, frustrated, mad, or stressed, etc., so that I can try to be more authentic and open with my energetic presence, my daughter's response is fear and rejection, saying, no, you're not feeling that. How do I help her feel okay and safe with me or others, acknowledging and feeling these intense emotions, and also for herself to do the same?
Yeah. So it's like we're taking this in steps. For a lot of parents, there's never even a conversation about how they feel. It's almost like, somehow parents are supposed to be superhuman or something like that. And so there are all these conversations that just never get had all across the world. And different cultures are even more, deeper in that. So that's stage one is, it's like today I'm feeling a little heavy. I mean, today I'm anxious, or I'm a little bit nervous. And again, the moment that she comes back and says, no, you're not, no, don't do that, that kind of thing. I think the next step here is really just a very frank conversation. It's okay for me to feel that way. As I feel that way, I'm able to work it through. As I feel that way, I'm acknowledging that it's there and I'm allowing it to move, versus I feel it, I don't like that it's there, so I shove it back down, only to have it come up another day. So it's all we're doing here is we're incrementally educating, the kids that, and again, just about everybody on this planet has been taught that certain emotions are good and other emotions are bad. So all she's doing is she's just playing out that scenario. And so we have to break that. We have to break that cycle as well. And somebody just has to say, hey, it's like, I know it feels uncomfortable. I know you don't like it. And it's also okay to feel that. It's okay that you don't like it. It's okay to feel that energy too. Yeah. Yep. So that, and then if she knows that it's okay to feel it, I mean, and sometimes I'll just say this, because sometimes you give somebody permission to feel something and it feels like it backfires for a little while, because they're feeling everything, right? And again, as that starts coming up, that's the next opportunity for education, right? Okay, so now we're allowing ourselves to feel these things, and let's find some clear, coherent ways of processing that energy. Yeah. Little people, it's like we can do the mad dance, we can scream, we can yell, we can do this, to move that energy. Older children, we can, punch something that isn't a person, we can do other kinds of things. But again, you're just incrementally opening her back up to a greater truth. And it's quite honestly, it's a truth that we all ourselves are trying to open ourselves up to. So my guess is too, is she'll reflect back what the next step of the journey is, you know, for you as well, which is cool. You know, this is what we can do next. Yeah. So cool.
That is the last question.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Yeah, those are really great questions. And I don't know about you guys, but I know recently I'm having to go back to really acknowledging that everything is a process, right? Everything is moments of transition, moments of change, moments of growth. And especially, you know, we have a tendency to say, okay, when we're fixed on a certain outcome that we want, or we're fixed on a behavior or a series of behaviors that's like so overwhelming for everybody involved, we have a tendency to really pay attention to what is the thing that's going to stop this from happening. And right, and every single time we do that, we go from, we don't allow it to be fluid, we don't allow it to be a process. So and again, we haven't been taught to allow a process. Yeah. Yeah, I'm noticing one right now. It's my thyroid medication has gone off again. And so I've been, and oh my gosh, I just want that fix. You know, it's like, what is that fix that makes me feel better? And what I keep hearing over and over again is like, Susie, just step back, open up the field, step back and open up so that all kinds of different resources can come in from all kinds of different angles that allow for that whole transition to be made. Because the truth is it's never, sometimes it can feel like it's one thing that creates that change, but it's never one thing. It's a series of all the things that have come before it, all the changes that have happened. And so we're pulling that all together and we're kind of just going, okay, I'm going to go back to understanding that this is a process and there are all kinds of pieces of information that I'm gaining through this process. That anything that, if we see that it's kind of a sphere of things that are coming into play, that are coming into support, and that all of those different supports create the greater intention of shifting from here to there, then we have a tendency to see the whole thing as a process and allow the process. And then we start mining all the different gems that we get from each piece of that process, because all of that goes into the healing, the transformation, the balancing, the harmonizing, right? And all of it will ultimately be used later on as well. So yeah, cool. For other things. Yeah. All right. I hope that is helpful. Thank you so much for showing up tonight and for the questions. They were really great. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Bye.